Let's get more now from the Managing Director, Trevor Abrahams of Working on Fire, to give us an update. Thank you very much, Trevor, for joining us. Just give us a sense of what is the status of the fires right now. We've heard different stories that the fire is coming, is becoming subdued, but then we're also hearing that there's great potential for more fires. How do you see things right now?
Well, the reports that we've received is that much of the fire has in fact been contained. However, we're operating in a fairly open environment in the sense that we are being battered by fairly strong winds. And that in itself can introduce quite an element of unpredictability. From my last trip along the roadside there and the Sandparks fire official, we didn't see any immediate risk to any residences, but it's still burning quite strongly up on the mountain slopes, and the wind is obviously fanning it. And, with the changes in the wind, etc., we cannot always predict exactly how this fire will evolve.
Yeah, so you can't afford to rest on your laurels just yet. Just tell us how tough a feat it's been to battle this fire that's been raging essentially since yesterday morning.
Well, I think, if we look at the temperature alone, it was about 36 degrees yesterday when this fire was raging. If you're dealing with an environment which is upslope on the mountains, one can very well imagine how arduous a task it is for firefighters to go there. Then we also have our aerial fleet, our helicopters, and our spotter plane, which was operating, obviously, in bringing much relieved needed water to this effort. There's been some 411 tons of water that we alone have disposed on this fire yesterday. Then, of course, today we had raging winds, which were so strong that even our helicopters could not fly. Of course, Orange came in at one point and made an attempt to approach the fire and had to, in fact, abort its attempts because of the extent of the wind. So it's really an environment that's being shaped largely by the wind at this point in time.
Yeah, we can hear the wind in your mist right there making a racket. So as you reflect on what's taken place, do you have any key concerns about the future, especially in the eventuality of more fires like this happening, and whether there are sufficient resources to handle perhaps an even bigger blaze?
I think we do need to recognize that fires are part of our ecological system. However, there are factors which, of course, make it much more hazardous. One is obviously the preponderance of alien invasive trees, which are known to burn much more intensely and spread the fire more intensely. I think there were fires on the videos or on our TVs that showed palm trees bursting into flame. So that's clearly a factor. Then, of course, there's a broader issue of climate change, which has been recognized as contributing to a much more intense fire regime, as we saw with Australia last year. So those are some of the factors. And then, of course, there's the sort of practical management of fire, which requires fire breaks to be prepared in time and general fuel load reduction to be taken by all landowners so that, in fact, when we do have a fire, it doesn't become intense and doesn't become a disaster fire.
Yeah. And just from a practical point of view, how are the firefighters that you preside over, how are they doing, given that you guys have been fighting this fire since yesterday morning? Were you able to have sufficient rotation among teams such that people could get rest? What's the situation there?
Yeah, thanks. We have had 115 working on firefighters as part on the fire of more than 200 at the moment. And we have a very regimented system of rotating people in, making sure they're fed, making sure they are provided with water and nutrition while on the fire line. So this is quite an established norm with us in terms of rotation of teams when people come in, when they come out, so that we do not have fatigue. And, I think we're fortunate at this point there's been no injuries amongst the working on firefighters.
Indeed. Trevor, thank you very much for your time, sir. Trevor Abrahams, he's the Managing Director of Working on Fire. Government is working hard to help